Hi, it's Sandy with a little bit of glitter. And oh my goodness, am I in love with this card. It isn't very often that a card that I've been thinking about turns out exactly the way I hoped it would, but this one definitely did, so I think it's definitely a keeper. Go ahead and hit subscribe if you'd like to be notified of future videos. You can follow me on Instagram at Sandy Cogdill or on my blog, A Little Bit of Glitter. Let's get started. The stamp sets I'm going to be using for this card are mostly from Lawn Fawn's new release. So I'm going to be using Veggie Happy, Carrot About You, Hey There Hay Rides, which was a fall release, but I'm using the add-on, the Mice add-on, and then the Hey There Hay Rides Bunny add-on. I'll also be using Simply Fall Sentiments, just a portion of that, and then the Simply Spring or Simply Celebrate Spring stamp set. The die, the new die that I'm using is the Little Farm Fence Border, which I love. It is just the perfect size, so I can see I'll be using that many times in the future. For this card, you're going to need a 12 by 12 piece of pattern paper. So for this card, I'm going to be using my largest scoreboard. I decided to use the Pesto Spiffy Speckles. If you're using a pattern paper, you need to keep in mind that the back side of the paper is going to be seen once you make that accordion. So just kind of keep that in mind as you're choosing. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to score that paper at 4 inches and then again at 8 inches. Then I'm going to turn that paper 90 degrees and cut it at 6 inches. So now I'll have 2 pieces of paper that are going to measure 12 inches by 6 inches. My scored lines are now in the horizontal position, so I'm going to measure up 1 inch from that bottom left-hand corner and place a little tick mark with my pencil. And then I'm going to do the same thing at the upper right-hand corner. I'm going to measure 1 inch down from that right-hand corner and place a little tick mark. Now I'm going to cut from both of those tick marks diagonally across my paper, so I'll have 2 pieces. Now I'll create my accordion fold by folding that card or that paper at the scored lines back and forth, and then I'm just going to finger press it for now, making sure that that bottom edge is lining up nicely each time I fold that card. Then I'll go ahead and use my bone folder to give those a nice crease. What's actually kind of fun about this card is you're going to get 4 accordion folded pieces. You'll get 2 with the green on the bottom and then 2 with the white on the top. So you'll be able to save those and use those for another card, which is kind of neat, and it's not a waste of your paper then. I wanted to create a dirt road at the bottom of my card for my little carrot car and for my tractor. So I put some low-tack tape at the top and at the bottom, not so much to ink up to those lines. I didn't want to do that. I had done that on another card and the lines were way too harsh, but to give me a guideline so that my road was straight and it was somewhat the same thickness all the way across the bottom of that card. I'm going to start with Tea-Dye Distress Oxide ink, and then I'll come back in with a little bit of Vintage Photo Distress Oxide ink, just to give it a little bit of interest. As you know, no gravel road is the same color all the way through it. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to come back in with a little bit of Rustic Wilderness green on the sides, just to kind of show that there's grass growing up to that little gravel road. I'll also use the rustic wilderness to go around all the edges of the pesto cardstock, just to kind of soften up those edges. And then on the other side, the rustic wilderness did not look so good with it, so I decided to use a little bit of mowed lawn to hit those edges, just to soften those up also. Now I have some of the little farm fence border pieces cut. I just have those cut out of white cardstock. I'm going to place liquid glue along that bottom rail of the fence and the bottom piece of each one of those pickets, and glue that up the diagonal part of my card. You want to make sure when you're doing that, when you place that picket fence on your card, that where the folds are of your accordion, that your fence is falling, your fence rail is falling where that fold would be, so that your fold is not on a picket. It's just going to give you a better fold, and you won't be fighting it so much when you go to fold those pieces in. Of course, these little pieces aren't long enough, so I have to overlap them a little bit just to get the length that I need. So I do that on this front part of the card at a picket, and I just kind of cut off the rails at that spot and just glue it from the picket, and then just keep going on up the card. I'm going to do the same thing when I get to the top of my card with that last little section for the fence, and then trim it off even with the long edge. Alright, I'm going to make sure that my card folds nicely at those little creases, and kind of help my paper and my little fence crease along those spots the best I can. And then I'm going to flip my card over, and I'm going to start gluing the fence up on the other side. Keep in mind that that largest panel, the back panel, is going to be adhered to another piece of paper, so you don't have to go all the way up the back side or the back diagonal with your fence. And I'm just going to glue it on just the same way as I did the front of the card. And again, I'm going to help that little fence crease where it needs to, so that when the card is folded, it lays nice and flat. I decided as I was working on this that I did not like the white on the card. So I went back in with some Mowed Lawn Distressed Oxide ink. I blended in just a light coat of that, and then along the fence line I just kind of dabbed that ink in there, kind of giving it the illusion of longer tufts of grass like you would see around a fence that needs a little bit of weed whacking, I guess. And then I went ahead and used that same color along the little gravel road and down the sides and down the bottom. I just think it helped it quite a bit, kind of tie the card together. I just did not like that white at all. Okay, we're going to start coloring our little pieces. I've got them all stamped out on my paper. I like to use Express It card blend. That's just the paper I prefer to use. I've used it for years and it just works really well for me. For the greens, I have used G82, YG63, and YG67. For the oranges, I am using YR01, YR07, and YR09. For the wheels on the vehicles, I am using T0, T2, T5, and T7. For the yellows, I am using Y00, Y02, and Y08. The grays on the mice are W00, W00, W1, and W3. The blues are B000, B21, and B23. For the tans, I'm using E30 and E51. The browns are E23, E27, and E37. I've cut a piece of robin's egg spiffy speckled to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm going to put that in my MISTI and stamp Hope You Have at that top left hand corner. That stamp is from the Simply Fall Sentiments The whole stamp, the whole sentiment is hope you have a spooktacular day. I've just cut it off because that's just a perfect sentiment by itself without the spooktacular. On the bottom of my accordion fold, I'm going to stamp Have a Happy Spring. I had to take out most of the paper I usually keep in my MISTI just because that piece was so thick, but it stamped pretty nicely. I'm going to use liquid glue to adhere that accordion piece onto my background piece. I think that was going to work the best as opposed to using a glue tape. Now it's time for the fun part. We get to put all those fun little friends on our card. At first I had thought I had colored way too many little pieces, but this is a lot of real estate to cover for a card, so luckily I had done just enough. But it was fun. It was fun placing all of them in their little scene. I just think this is such a happy little card. And that just about does it for this fun little card. I hope you enjoyed following me in the process of making it. Hopefully you'll be inspired to do one yourself. Anyway, thank you so much for stopping by today. Again, give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Hit subscribe if you'd like to be notified of future videos. You can follow me on my Instagram at Sandy Cogdale or on my blog, A Little Bit of Glitter. Thanks so much and have a happy spring. Bye-bye.